I remember coming here to Oldshoremore 8 years ago as a tourist, as a holiday maker, just travelling through with my wife in our motorhome. And I remember seeing it for the very first time. And it was everything that I ever wanted a coastline to look like in the Northern Highlands. It was just natural, raw beauty. And as a photographer, I was thinking, how could I ever do this place justice? It is too beautiful. And even now, as a resident to these parts, I still come here and wonder, can I ever do it justice? It is so beautiful. It is so gorgeous. But I keep coming back and I keep trying. So, just like all those years ago when I came here for the very first time, today I'm going to start at the beginning. I'm going to start when you come through the gate, you walk up the hill, and the view of Oldshoremore reveals itself. It's the most logical place to start. So I've set my tripod up here. I've put my GFX 50 on the tripod and with my 32 to 64mm lens, and I'm going to take this view. This is the start of the story before I go down in amongst the marron grass. So let me just show you how I've composed this, and then we'll see how it processes. So this is the composition which I've decided on. It's a fairly straightforward composition. It's got lots of layers and there's interest there in the far distance with the land and the water. I think the only difference I may make here is just to crop it a little bit so as to not to include the rocks built into the hill on the right hand side. By doing that, it just adds a little bit of, it just cleans the composition up a little bit. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward composition, and I'm quite pleased with it. One of the many reasons that I love coming to Oldshoremore, apart from it being an absolutely world-class landscape, is this marron grass. It provides me with so much texture and my photographs with natural composition. And when there's a breeze like this, it adds interest and depth and a natural frame to the photograph. And I just absolutely love it. And there is just so much here. There's just a vast expanse of this beautiful marron grass, and I can't wait to start photographing it. Okay, so the first photograph in amongst the grass, I've placed the camera on a tripod, as you can see. After this photograph, I'm probably going to take the camera off the tripod and just walk freely amongst the grass, taking a series of handheld shots. But for this shot, put the D850, the Nikon D850 on the tripod. Now I've also got the 14 to 24mm lens on here, which enables me to get really close and in amongst the grass, which is going to add so much more impact and interest to the image. I'm using the grass as a natural frame to the land and the scene beyond. It's the scene beyond which is the most important thing. So therefore I'm going to focus on the distant hills. And even if the grass is slightly out of focus because of the aperture and the shutter speed, I'm not going to get too precious with it, because it's not that I want to look at when I see this photograph. It's the land in the distance. And so therefore, if it's slightly softly focused, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to get too precious about it. But I'll bring you behind the camera so you can see how I've composed it, and I'll talk you through my reasoning behind using the 14 to 24mm lens. Okay, so you can see how I've used the marron grass in the foreground to act as a frame to the main part of the photograph, which in my eyes is the beach, the ocean and the land beyond. It's creating a frame to lead the eye through to those elements in the photograph. those elements are adding depth and layers into this image. So you can see I'm not too fussed about the grass being perhaps slightly soft focused, because it's the frame which includes the beach and the ocean and the land, which I want to be sharp. Okay, so I know I said I was going to take the camera off the tripod, but the beauty about walking freely amongst this grass is that the strong winds which frequent this part of the coastline most of the year creates so many patterns, and where they've laid flat and they're all going in different directions. And if you can find something which really works on the composition, you've just got to take it. So I'm going to work quite quickly on this one, because you can probably see by the sky behind me, it looks as though it's going to absolutely chuck it down any minute now. But a similar type of photograph to the previous photograph. It's the same ingredients. It's using the grass as an impactful compositional feature, but at the same time using the layers of the beach and of the ocean and of the land beyond to create the depth. So all these elements, hopefully they come together to produce an interesting image. And when I've taken this, as long as it's not raining, I'm going to take the camera off the tripod and then just walk freely amongst the grass and just take some handheld shots and go through the benefits of actually taking your camera off the tripod, and how liberating it can be, and how the images that you get can be worth it. So I'm just going to grab this image and see how it processes. Now, most of the time I use a tripod in my photography workflow. It's got huge benefits. It allows me just to slow down. It allows me to compose an image and make subtle changes to that composition in a very comfortable, calm manner. It also enables me to have my horizon straight. It allows me the opportunity to put filters on the lens and slow the whole scene down. It enables me to focus stack, because I use a lot of wide angle lenses in my photographs, so focus stacking is an important feature, and having this tripod allows me to do it. However, that's not to say that I always have to have it on the tripod. In fact, if I can get it off, I find it quite liberating to have it handheld. This means I can, with changeable weather like we have this morning, it means I can react to the light so much more quickly. I can move to the left, to the right. I can go higher, I can go lower. I can swivel to the right, swivel to the left. It's so much more quicker. And sometimes it just means that some of the emotion in the photography is captured by hand holding the camera. In fact, some of my most favourite photographs that I've taken whilst I've been living in the Highlands here have been taken without this. So it's quite liberating. So it's quite important to bear this in mind. Okay, so you don't have the pin sharp focusing perhaps, but the trade-off is that sometimes you get more emotional photographs, more dramatic photographs with more impact. So I'm going to put this away and I'm going to walk freely amongst this grass and see whether I can capture some decent images handheld. One thing I've always got to be careful to watch, especially at my age, is the shutter speed. I can comfortably hold the camera for around about an 80th of a second and have no camera shake. But anything slower than that, I struggle. I'm loving this. Now I'm just going to cut away from the video there because I'd say around about half an hour later after this point, I'd packed everything away and was making my way home. But as I drove home, the weather conditions changed. The wind picked up, there was heavy torrential rainfall, a little bit of sunlight, even the odd rainbow. So when I got home, I decided to call a good friend of mine who lives down by the beach at Oldshoremore to see what the conditions were like back there. And he said that there was gusts of over 50 miles an hour, bit of rain, and the tide was roaring in. So I decided to jump back into my truck with my Nikon D850 and my 14 to 24mm lens because I just felt as if I wanted a better opportunity to show you the benefits of handheld photography and that sometimes it is the better option in the right conditions. So arriving back at Oldshoremore, I jumped back down in amongst the marram grass along the sand dunes to see whether I could capture the energy of the conditions. Well, that's the end of my very brief visit to the beautiful, gorgeous, world-class coastline beach here at Oldshoremore. I haven't had the opportunity to go down onto the beach or take you to the bay beyond there where there's a second beach. Unfortunately, time's caught up with me. But it truly is a world-class location, and I hope you've got some kind of taste of what it's like to be here. And I hope that one day you have the opportunity to come here for yourself. I went through the benefits of handheld photography. In the winter, the wind and the rain drives in off this coastline and it is brutal, and handheld photography really does come into its own. So I just thought I'd give you a brief insight into how it works here and how it can be beneficial. But if you have enjoyed it, I hope that you consider subscribing to my new channel. It's a channel 100% dedicated to the photographing of the Scottish Highlands. I live here, I work here, and I come to locations like this most days. And I hope that you'll be able to join me and follow me on my journey as I go through these locations with you. But for now, I'm going to leave you with the beautiful, the gorgeous, the world-class Oldshoremore. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.